So hello and welcome to another video of my array series. In this video, I'm going to cover the multidimensional arrays. Now a multidimensional array is an array that contains one or more arrays as its elements. The multidimensional array can be represented as an array of arrays where each array can be either an indexed array or an associative array. Now let me give you the example of this. So now for creating an array, first of all I'm going to create the variable, and that variable is going to be the students. And now inside this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an array. Now as you can see, this is how we create an array, and I'm also going to terminate this array with the semicolon at the end. Now inside this, as you can see, for creating an array, we create the array like that. We can either use the array function or we can either use the square bracket syntax, and inside this we just put our items like 1 2 3. As you can see, these items, this index, this array is the indexed array because I haven't associated the key with this value. So this array is called the indexed array, and in this indexed array I have the 3 items inside it. This is the item 1, this is the item 2, and this is the item 3. The index of the first item is 0, the index of the second item is like 1, and the index of the third item is like 2. Now instead of creating the items inside the array, we can also put the arrays inside the array. So now how do I do that? So you have to do the same thing as you are doing here. Instead of putting the values like that, you have to just put the opening and closing square brackets just like that. As you can see, this is the first array inside this array, this is the second array inside this array, and now I'm also going to select it all, and I'm also going to put the opening and closing square brackets just like that. As you can see, this is our array, and inside this array I have the arrays as the child of this array. So now that's the reason why it is called the multi-dimensional array. Now I have created the two-dimensional array. Now when you have only one array without the array inside it, just like that, this is the single dimensional array, and you have the array that contains more arrays just like that. This is called the multi-dimensional array, and in this case this is the two-dimensional array. If you want, you can also create the three-dimensional arrays, but that will be a little bit complex, especially for you if you are a beginner. So first of all, I'm going to explain you the two-dimensional array, and if the concepts regarding the two-dimensional array are cleared, then you will be able to understand the three or even four-dimensional arrays. So now let's just create the two-dimensional array. So now the roll number of the first student is going to be the 1, and the name of the first student is going to be on the second thing, which is this one, and I want the name to be John. And now the age of the student is going to be like 20, and now for the second item, the roll number of the second student is going to be the 2, and the name is going to be the Jane, and the age is going to be like 19. And now inside this I'm going to also create more items inside this array. As you can see, I have this whole array, and inside this I have these 3 arrays, and inside those 3 arrays I'm creating the values, I'm specifying the values for my array. I have this item 1, 2, and 3. Now this item is on the index 0 inside this array, this is on the index 1, this is on the index 2, same goes to the second array. And now I'm also going to specify the values for the third array, and inside this I'm going to specify the values. The name of this is going to be Steve, and the age is going to be like 18. Now I don't have to put the semicolon at the end. And now here I have this array, and inside this array I have these 3 arrays. As you can see, I haven't associated any type of like key with these arrays, so these are the indexed arrays. So now for explaining it further, let me just print r them. So let's just type print r, and let me put the students here. Now you will be able to understand it, how it works. Let's just get back to the browser, and I'm gonna refresh the page. As you can see, it is showing it like this. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just type the pre tag before and after this. So I'm gonna type echo, and now just do this thing, just type the pre tag. Now this pre is the HTML tag for formatting the data, and I'm just putting the pre tag before and after this print r using the echo statement. If you don't put the echo statement, then this pre will have no effect. So it is also necessary to put the echo statement to be able to inject this string inside the screen. So now you will see the formatted data. As you can see, now this data is formatted. So now let me explain you what I'm saying. So here you can see I have this main array, and inside this main array I have the three items. This is the item 1, this is the item 2, and this is the item 3. And now these are the items that I have here. This is the item 1, and after the comma this is the item 2, and after the comma this is the item 3. And that's what it is saying here. And inside those items I have more items. As you can see, for the index 1 I have the value John, and for the index 2 I have the value 20. Now suppose if I want to access the value of this John, how do I do that? So now, because it is a two-dimensional array, so now what I need to do, I need to use another syntax, which is I need to use the same syntax but with extra square brackets. So now for accessing the first item, suppose I want to access this first item, how do I do that? So now let me just type the echo, and now after the echo I want to just access the first item inside this array, students array. So now I have to type the name of the students, and then after the square brackets I have to specify the index. So now the student array is on the index 0. Because the student array is also the item of this array, I haven't associated a special key. So it is the indexed array, and it is on the index 0, it is on the index 1, and the third item is on the index 3. So I have accessed the first item, and if I refresh the page, and as you can see, it is giving me the error. It says that arrays to string conversion, it says that it is not possible. It is not possible that you cannot print the array just like that. And now I'm accessing the whole array here. So now it will just return me the array. I can just store that array inside another array. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to type the ARR here just like that. Now it will just return me this array. Let's just comment this code, and let's just type print r, and inside this print r I'm going to type the ARR, which is over array, which is over this array that is on the index 0 of the students array. And I'm just using this index students, and then the index name that I want to access. I want to access the first item, so I'm going to use the 0 here, and the array is returned to this ARR, and I'm using the print r to just print it here on the screen. And as you can see, on the index 0 I have the item 1, on the index 1 I have the John, and on the index 2, with the index 2 the 20 value is associated. Now it is just returning us this array. Now as you know, for accessing the items inside this array, as you can see, on the index 0 I have the one item, on the index 1 I have the John. So suppose I want to access the John, so how do I do that? So now I use the same way as I'm using here. Now it will just return me the single array from this whole array, the students array, and that array is returned here. Now if I want to access the John on this array, what I need to do, I need to do the same thing, like I need to type the ARR, and now after that I need to type the index. I want to access the value on the index 1, so I'm going to specify 1 here, and now it will just return me the 1. So now either I can just store that in a variable and echo that later, or I can just echo it directly just like that. And now let's just refresh the page. As you can see, it is returning me the John, and then after returning it, it is also printing it the whole array. So let's just comment this, and now let's just refresh the page. As you can see, it is returning me the John, but instead of doing that in the 2 lines just like that, you can do the same thing in here directly. So now suppose now this is my array, which is the students array here, and inside this I have the 3 items, and inside each of these items I have the index arrays, because I haven't associated any key with those values as well. Now for accessing the first item, what I need to do, I need to type the 0, and then it will just access this whole array which is on the index 0. And for accessing more items inside this array, I have to just create another opening and closing pair of square brackets just like that. And now after creating these, I have to specify the index that I want to access the value of. So I want to access the value of this John, so now I have to just specify the index. So the index is 1. Now it will just give me the John value inside this variable. I can just echo this variable here, so I'm gonna echo ARR, and now you will see the value John, as you can see. Or I can either directly echo the value here. So I'm going to type echo. Now instead of saving it in a variable, I'm directly echoing it, and you will see the same thing. And as you can see, you are just seeing the same thing. So now let me explain it once more. So I'm gonna just clear it, and I'm gonna just also clear it, and let's just uncomment this. Now let's just get back to the browser. Let's just refresh the page. As you can see, this is our array, and inside this array I have 3 items, 0, 1, 2, and these items are arrays. As you can see, these items are whole arrays, and inside those arrays I have these items, and because these items are the indexed array, so for each value there is for each value PHP automatically assigns the index. So on the 0 index I have the value 1. Suppose I want to access the 1 here, so how do I do that? So first of all, I have to access this whole array inside this one array. So now this is the index of that, and for accessing the 0, after that I want to access this item 1. So for accessing it, I have to also use the index 0. So now let's just get back to the browser, VS Code, and now I'm going to type echo. And first of all, I have to specify the students array, and then inside it I want to access this first item. So the index of this item is 0, so I'm going to specify 0, and after that I have to just create another pair of square brackets, and then I have to specify which index I want to access. I want to access the value of this 1. So now it is on the 0 index inside this array, which is this one internal array. So I have to specify 0 here, and it will just give me the value. And if I get back to the browser and if I refresh the page, as you can see, if I just go over to the top, as you can see, it is returning me the 1. And similarly, if I want to access this John here, as you can see, on the 0 array, this is the 0 item, on this array I have this John on the index 1. So now I have to specify 1 here to be able to access it, and it will just return me the John. As you can see, now it is giving me the John. And if I want to just get all the values, so let's just start from 0 index, and let's just get all the values from this array. And now let's just copy and paste it, and let me make it 1, which will give me the John. And now let me make it 2, which will give me this. If I refresh the page, as you can see, 1 John 20, there is no space in between them. So now I'm going to create the space. I'm going to just use the dot syntax. As you know, this dot is the concatenation operator, and then after that I'm going to just type the space just like that. So now let's just type it here and also here, and I'm going to refresh the page. After that, as you can see, it has added the space in between them. So now I have accessed the first item here, and then I have accessed each item inside it. I have accessed the first array, and then I have accessed each item inside it. As you can see, 1 John and 20, 1 John and 20. And if you want to access the values of this array with the second array, then you have to change the index of the first thing. Like here you have the 0, because I'm accessing the first array. If I want to access this second array, then I have to use the index 1. So now let's just change it to index 1. Now it has also selected it. Let's make it 0. Now it will just return me the 2 Jane and 19. And now let's just get back to the browser, and let me just refresh the page. 2 Jane and 19, because this because for accessing the second array I have to use this index, because one index, and then it will just give me this whole array, and inside this array I want to get the values of each item. So now I have used the same thing like 0, 1, 2 index to get the values of these. So here you can see, first of all I'm just accessing the item which is 1, and then the 0 item 1 item 1. So this is the item, this is the array that I'm accessing, which is on the index 1 inside this whole array, and then I'm accessing each item inside this array using this syntax. So now that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and now there is much more to the multi-dimensional array. Like there is a way that you can use to traverse all these items from the arrays using the 3 or 4 lines of code, so you don't have to type this hectic thing, this thing over and over again. But for that you have to learn the for each loop or the for loop. So I haven't covered the for loop, so now that is a little bit more advanced thing, so I will cover that when I will be covering the for loop. So now that's it for today's video, guys, and in the next video I will be covering the multi-dimensional associative arrays. These were the multi-dimensional indexed arrays. So see you in the next one. So hello and welcome to another video of my PHP course. In this tutorial I'm going to talk about the multi-dimensional associative arrays. Now in the previous video I have covered the multi-dimensional arrays and associative arrays separately, but in this video I will talk about the combination of both of these. So I will talk about the multi-dimensional arrays. Now before talking about the multi-dimensional associative arrays, let's talk about the associative arrays itself. So an associative array is an array that stores a collection of key value pairs where each key is associated with a value. So now let me just create the associative array by using the square bracket syntax. So I'm going to type the A as C and then underscore ARR, and now you can name it whatever you like. And now I'm going to just create an array. So as you know, for creating an array we use the opening and closing square brackets. And now I'm gonna just create the associative array. As you know, in associative arrays we have the keys and value pairs. So I'm going to create the first key as 1 and the value that will be associated with it will be 1. This will be the numeric value, and inside this I'm also going to create the second item. This is the one element inside this array, and now I'm going to create the second one. So I'm going to type 2, and after this arrow I'm going to type 2 here, just like that. And I'm also going to create another item which is going to be the 3. Now here I have to terminate it with the semicolon. Now I have created an array with the name ASCRR, and now I have assigned the array inside this variable, and here you can see I have 3 elements inside this array, and each element has its own key and value. So this is the key and value pair, and that's how we create the associative arrays. But when we want to create the multi-dimensional associative arrays, what we will do, instead of typing the element here, we type the whole array, just like that. Now let me just create the array for this one, and for the last one as well. I'm going to select it and I'm going to create the array. Now I have created the multi-dimensional associative array. As you can see, I have this array here, and inside this array I have this associative array. This is the variable for this array, and inside this I have the associative array with 3 items, and inside these items I have another array, and that array is associated with this key, and inside this I have this indexed array. If you want to, you can also make this array as the associative array. So now I'm going to change this to associative array. So I'm going to type the data here. So the roll number of the student is going to be 1, and the name of the student is going to be John, and inside this I'm going to type the age. So the age of the student is going to be 30, and I'm going to do the same for the second student, and the name of the second student is going to be Jane, and the age of this is going to be like 27. And for the last student, which is the third student, I'm going to create another item, and remember this is still the indexed array inside it. This is the associative array because I have associated the key with this particular array, but this array itself is the indexed array that I have associated with this associative array with this particular key. And now let's just type this data, and after that I will just make it the associative array. So now I have created this array, and this is an associative array with 3 items. This is the first item, this is the second, and this is the third item. And now inside this I have the key and value pair. The key is 1, and the value that is associated with this key is itself an array, and now I will make it the associative array. So now I'm gonna make it on the next line so that it will be easier for you to see. And now I'm going to associate the roll number with this one. So I'm going to type this arrow here, and before this arrow I'm going to type roll. And now let's just copy this arrow and paste it for this one. as well as for the last one. Now let's also associate the name and age for these values. So first of all, I'm going to type name, and I'm going to associate the name with the John. And now I'm going to type age, and I want to associate the age with it. Now I have created the multi-dimensional associative array. I have this array, this main array, and inside this main array I have the 3 items, and inside those items I have the 3 more items, and these items are also the multi-dimensional arrays. Now let me also quickly change them. The multi-dimensional, let me make the multi-dimensional array. Now I have associated the key with each value here. Now how do I access this? So first of all, I'm going to use the print r function to print out this array in the browser. So I'm going to type print r, and inside this I'm going to put my array, which is the ASCII_ARR, and let's just get back to the browser. I have already opened my page in the browser, and I'm going to refresh the page. As you can see, this is my array. Let me just format it a little bit. So I'm going to type the echo, and I want to type the pre tag here. Let's just close this tag, copy this and paste it after that. And now let's just get back to the browser. I'm going to refresh the page. As you can see, this is my array, and this is the multi-dimensional associative array. I have the 3 items inside this array. This is the item 1, this is the item 2, this is the item 3, and each item has its own associative array inside it. Here with each value I have associated the key. This is the roll number key, and the value of this is 1. This is the name key, the value of this is John, and this is the age key, the value of this is age. Now same goes for the other items. And if I get back to the browser, now let me show you how you can access those values. So first of all, I'm going to go back at the top. So now this is my associative array, and I want to access the values of this array. So first of all, I need to use this array, name of this array. So I'm going to type the name ASCII_ARR, and then I need to type the square brackets, and this is the 2-dimensional associative array, because as you can see, and I have this array, and inside this array I have this item, which is this one, and I have 3 items inside this array, and each item contains its own array. So it will be a 2-dimensional array, and for accessing the values of 2-dimensional array, we use the 2 square brackets. The first one is going to be for the outer key. So the outer keys are 1, 2 and 3. So these are the outer keys. So first of all, I need to decide which key I want to access. I want to access this 2 key. So what I need to do, I need to just put this 2 key here inside these square brackets, and I'm going to put the 2, and now it will just give me the second array, which is this one. From this this associative array, it will just give me this 2 array, and now I can either store it inside a variable. So now let's just store that inside a variable. I'm going to type the res arr. This is the result array, and I need to also type the assignment operator, and after that I need to terminate it with the semicolon. And now I have the array inside this res array. If I just try to print it, let me just print it using the print r, and now inside this print r you will see the whole array. I'm going to refresh the page. As you can see, this is my array. It has returned my second array with the roll number 2, with the name Jane, with the age 17, and here you can see this is my 2 key, and the value that is associated with this is this whole array, and this array has the roll number 2, name Jane and age 27. And now I want to access the keys of this array. So how do I do that? So it is very simple. So let me just directly echo the value, and I want to echo rest arr, and now I want to echo this roll number, name and age. So let's just type the roll number, name and age here. So the first thing is the roll number. So this is the key of the roll number, and I'm going to terminate it with the semicolon. After that I need to type the name, because this is what I want to access, and I also need to type the age here. Let's just get back to the browser. I'm going to refresh the page, and it will just give me 2, Jane and 27. It is giving me the right value, but I need to also type I need to also concatenate this using the dot, and then I need to type the empty space, so that you will see the space in between these values. and I'm gonna put the space here and also here at the end. Let's just get back to the browser, refresh the page. As you can see, now you have the space in between your values. So here with this syntax, I'm using my ASCII-ARR, which is the multi-dimensional associative array, which is this one, and I'm accessing the to key here, and this to key will give me the whole array, and inside that array I'm using the same syntax to access the whole values from this this inner array. So now you can do the same thing inside a single line if you want it to do. So now first of all, I want to access this roll number, so I need to type this roll number here directly. I don't need to just store the returned array inside a variable and then do the same operation. I can do that in a single line just like that. As you can see, I have typed the roll number and I'm gonna just cut this, and let's just copy and paste this twice, and let's change it to name. Let's change this to an age. Now first of all, I will access the I will just type the reference of my array that I want to access, which is this ASCII-ARR, and then I will type the item that I want to access, which is this 2, and then inside this second item I want to access this key. That's why I have typed the square bracket separately for this, and then it will just give me the roll number for the second item, name for the second item, and age for the second item. And now I need to also echo the value. I don't need to store it in a variable, and I'm gonna echo this value directly instead of saving it in a variable. Now let's just get back to the browser. I'm gonna refresh the page and it will give me the same value. It says that syntax error unexpected token equals to, so I have made a mistake here. I think I shouldn't put this equal to sign here. So let's just get back to the browser again. I'm gonna refresh the page. As you can see, now it is giving me the same value that I was expecting. Now I don't want to get the value for the 2 item. I want to get the value for the 1 item or any other item. So what I need to do, I need to type the name of the key first for the first array. So now here I have accessed my array, and then here I have typed the key that I want to access, and inside this key I have typed the key that I want to access, and it will just give me the value. Instead I want to access the key 1, so I'm gonna just select them all, and I want to change it like 1 or 2 or 3. So this time I want to access 1, and now let's just get back to the browser. By the way, I have selected them all by holding the control button on my keyboard and pressing the D button the number of times I want to select the things. So first of all, you have to select this like this, and now I want to select all the items that are with the same name like 1. I need to hold the control button and I need to press the D button, and then it will select them all, and then I can just modify them at the same time. And I'm gonna refresh the page now. As you can see, 1, John, and 30. If I want, I can just indent it. So I'm gonna type dot, and then I will just type the BR tag, which is the HTML tag, and let's just also type this tag for this one and for the last item as well. I'm gonna get back to the browser. I'm gonna refresh the page. As you can see, 1, John, and 30, and these are the values that I have here in my first item. 1, as you can see, the roll number is 1, the name is John, and the age is 30. So that's it for the associative arrays, guys. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and now I will see you in the next one. So hello and welcome to another section of my PHP course. In this section, I will cover the essential programming constructs in PHP that allow us to control the flow of execution of our code. I will look at the conditional statements, loops, and switches, which are building blocks of any programming language. So now let me show you some topics that I'm going to cover in this series. So first of all, I'm going to cover the conditional statements. The conditional statements are going to be the if statement, else statement, and else if statement. And after that, I will also cover the ternary operator, and then I will move on to the loops. So in loops, I will cover the while loop, do while loop, for loop, for each loop, and then I will move on to the switches, where I will cover the switch statement, including the case and other statements like the default statement. So now that's it for this section overview, guys. and now I will see you in the first video of this section, which is going to be on the if and else statements. So see you in the next one. So hello and welcome to another video of my PHP course. In this video, I'm going to cover the if, else and else if statement. Now these all statements are the conditional statements, and these all statements are called the control structures. Now before diving into the details of the if, else and else if statement, let me explain you what these control structures are and what they do. Now control structures are statements or constructs that determine the flow of execution of a program. They allow developers to create conditions and loops that control which part of the code are executed and how many times they are executed. Now control structures are the fundamental concepts in all programming languages, including PHP. Now the if, else and else if structures are some of the most commonly used control structures in programming language, which is including the PHP. They allow developers to create conditional statements that determine which block of code are executed based on certain conditions. The if structure is used to execute the code if a condition is true, while the else structure is used to execute the code if the condition is false. The else if structure is used to add additional conditions and code blocks to the statement. Now let's start this video by talking about the if statement. So now let's just type the if structure. So for typing the if structure, first of all you have to type the if, just like that, and this is the reserved keyword by PHP. And now after that, here you have to type the opening and closing parenthesis, and in between these parentheses you have to type your condition. This condition could be true or false. So now in this case I want to type 10 is equals to 10, and now this condition is true. After that I have to put the opening and closing curly brackets, just like that. Now this is the if keyword, and here you have the opening and closing parentheses, and inside those parentheses here you have to type the condition. Now the condition is a boolean expression that is evaluated as true or false. If the condition is true, the code block inside the curly brackets is executed, otherwise the code block is skipped. This condition is true. So if I type something inside it, like the echo statement, and I type like this condition is true, now this block of code will be executed because the condition that you are typing inside this block is true. So now let's just get back to the browser, and I'm gonna refresh the page, and you will see the output here. As you can see, the condition is true. But suppose if the condition is false, as you can see, I'm comparing the 10 with 1, so 10 is equal to 1, it is not. Then this block of code that you have here will be ignored, and the execution of the code continues. Like it will just type whatever you are typing after this. Like here I'm going to type the echo statement, and this is the code after the if statement. And now let's just get back to the browser again. I'm gonna refresh the page, and now as you can see, you are not able to see the code that I have typed inside the if block, this opening and closing curly brackets. You are seeing the code that I have typed after this, which is this one. So if the condition that you are typing here is not true, if it is false, then the code inside the if block will be ignored, and the execution of the code continues after that. So this is how it works. You can type any condition here that you like you can just type the comparison operator, just like I'm typing here, or you can also type the other operators. So now I'm going to type the comparison operator of greater than. Now this is a greater than sign, and now as you can see, this condition returns true or false, and that's why it is called a condition. Now as I said, the condition is a boolean expression that is evaluated as true or false. So this expression will evaluate to true or false based on the value that you are specifying here. So now this is the 10. I'm checking if 10 is greater than 1. Yes, it is. So this block of code will be executed, and then after that, after the execution of this block of code, it will just get out of this if block, and then after executing this code, it will just execute this code that you have here. And if I refresh the page, as you can see, this condition is true, and after that it is just outputting this second line, which is this is the code after the if statement. Now let's talk about the else statement. Now let me create an example where I am going to check if the particular variable is like odd or even. So now I'm going to create a variable here, and I want to specify the value of this as like 10. And now let's just create the condition here. First of all, I need to type the num variable, and then I will type this condition, which is the modulus operator, and I will type 2 and equal to 0. Now if this is true, then the number is even, so I'm gonna type the number num is even, and if it is not, then I will type the num is false. So let's just type num is false. I should type the odd here. Now if this condition evaluates to true, it is checking for the remainder, and if it is and if the remainder of this 10 is 0, then it is an even number, and if it is not, then it is the odd number. And now I'm gonna refresh the page. Let's just actually cut this code, and let's just get back to the browser again so that you can easily see the output. As you can see, this is the even, so the 10 is the even number according to this code. And if I make some slight changes in it, like if I make 11, now the remainder of this will be 1 and not the 2, and that's the reason why it will be the odd number. And if I just refresh the page, as you can see, it is saying that the 11 is odd. Now let's finally talk about the else if structure. So now for creating the else if structure, now if you want to create the else if structure, that means you want to check for another condition. So let me just create another thing here. So if num1 is greater than like 20, then I will execute this if block, and if it is not, what I will do, I will check for another condition. So what I need to do, I need to type the else if statement. So first of all, I need to type the else, and then I need to type the if statement after the space, just like that. And now inside this I need to type another condition. I will check if the num, which is this variable, is less than 20. Then I will execute this block of code. So now let's just create this block of code. Let's type the opening and closing curly brackets, just like that. And inside this opening and closing curly brackets, I want to type the second condition. I want to type here, let's just type this and then num is greater than 20, and if it is not, then I will run this else if block, and if the num is less than 20, as you can see, the value of the num is 11, and yes, it is less than 20, then I will execute this block of code. So I want to type the num is smaller than 20, and if both conditions are false, then I will execute this block of code, and I will say inside it the num is neither less than 20 or nor bigger than 20. So now let's just get back to the browser and let's see the output. I'm gonna refresh the page. As you can see, the 11 is smaller than 20, and now it is just giving us the value. The 11 is smaller than 20, because if you see here, the value of the num is 11, so it is actually less than 20. And if I make it bigger than 20, like let me make it 23, now if the num is bigger than 20, then the code inside the if block will be executed, which is this one. And let's just get back to the browser, refresh the page. As you can see, the 23 is greater than 20, and yes, it is. And now suppose if it is not greater than 20 or less than 20, if it is equal to 20, let me make it equal to 20. As you can see, this condition will be evaluated to false, and it will check for this condition. Now this condition will also be evaluated to false. The reason for that is, as you can see, this is the num, and this num is greater than 20, and it is not equal to 20, because I'm checking If num is greater than 20, it is not. If num is smaller than 20, it is not. It is equal to 20. So 20 is equal to 20 and not smaller to 20. Then it will just ignore these two block of codes like if and else if, and it will just execute this code, which is the else statement. I'm gonna refresh the page and it will just give you the output. The 20 is neither less than 20 nor bigger than 20. It is equal to 20. So now let me finally show you how this execution worked for the last time. So first of all, it will just check for this condition that you have here, and if this condition is true, then all these other blocks that you have here will be ignored and the code inside this block will be executed. And after the execution of this block of code, all the other blocks of code that you have typed with this if block will be ignored, and the execution of the code will continues after that. Like if you have typed some code here, like any code, it could be a function, it could be anything, then that code will be executed. And now suppose if this condition that you have here is false, then what it will do, it will just ignore this block of code and it will just ignore this code that you have typed here, and it will just check for this condition in the else if statement. If this condition is true, then this block of code that you have here will be executed. And now all the other conditions, like if you want, you can also type like hundreds of else if statements, so it doesn't matter. In this example, I'm only showing you one else if statement. If you want, you can just type the more else if statements. Like let me just do that. So I'm gonna type the else if, I'm gonna type num is equals to 20, and then I will just type the code here. So I'm gonna type the echo, the num is equals to 20, just like that. Now what it will do, it will check for this condition, this second condition, and if it is true, then the code inside this condition will be executed and all the other conditions will be ignored. And similarly, if this condition is false, then this block of code that we have here will be ignored and it will check for another condition, and if this condition is true, the code inside this will be executed and otherwise it will be ignored. And finally, all the statements that you have typed in the if and else if statements are ignored and the else block will be executed. So this is the block of code that will be executed. Inside this, let me type something like the num is not a valid number. And now let's just cut this and let's just run this block of code final for the last time. As you can see, the 20 is equals to 20, so as I have the value of this as 20, so it is executing this block of code which is here. The num is equals to 20. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you found this tutorial on the if, else and else if statements helpful, and now you have a better understanding of the different conditions and control structures. So that's it for today's video and I will see you in the next one. So hello and welcome to another video of the control structures. In this video, I'm going to talk about the alternate syntax of the if and else statement. So here you can see I have created the if, else and else if statement. So first of all, I have a number here. I have initialized this number with the value of 10, and here I'm checking for the condition, and now the condition is if the num, which is this one, is greater than 0, which it is, as you can see, then this block of code will be executed and the output will be the number is positive, as we can see. Now there is only one line inside this if block. So now after that you have this else if block, and inside this else if block you have this condition. If your number that you are typing here is negative, which is like less than 0, then this block of code will be executed, and if the number that you are typing here is equals to 0, then the final block that you have typed here will be executed, which is the else block. So this is our code, and now the thing that you should notice is that you only have the one line of code inside each block. So now what you can do, you can just omit these curly brackets from here. So I'm gonna cut those curly brackets and I'm gonna use the alternate syntax. Now I'm gonna type the alternate syntax. So first of all, let me just cut those opening and closing curly brackets. Then what I need to do, I need to type the colon here after this if statement, and then after that I need to also type the colon here after the else if statement, and now I need to also type the colon after this else statement, and finally here you can see I don't have anything to end here. So what I need to do, I need to type the end if statement here, and if, and then the semicolon to terminate this if statement. Now for making the traditional if and else statement with the new syntax, you need to type the colon after the if statement, and then if you have the else if statement, then you also have to type the colon after that, and then here you have the else statement, and now after this else statement you also have to type the colon. We didn't have anything to end, so what we did, we just used the end if keyword to end this if and else statement, and finally we have typed the semicolon, and that's how we create the if and else statement with the new syntax. But this is only valid if you have only one line of code in your if or else statement. If you have more than one line of code, then you have to use the old syntax, which is with the opening and closing curly brackets. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and now I will see you in the next one.